If you're new, hi, my name is the Theologian, and while this channel has been a few different things over the years, I am focusing on JRPGs, and especially when it comes to Falcom, playing through their games. Now, I've actually played Ys before, back when I had my PlayStation Vita. I played through Memories of Celceta, and I actually liked that game a lot. And I think I was working on the Platinum Trophy, but I gave up, like, trying to 100% discover the map, because I'm like, ain't nobody got time for that. But I'd never been to the roots of the series, and with Ys X Nordics coming out soon, or maybe it's already out by the time that you're watching this review, I thought it'd be a good idea to start at the beginning to prep my playthrough or foray into the series. So what did I think of Ys 1, 2, and Origin? Well, let's talk about it. Now, Ys is a series of tales following Adol Christin on his adventures. And out of the gate, I have to say that I really like how this series is set up. Like, it's kind of like Adol's greatest hits of adventures, so to speak. It's just cool because each game is self-contained to a degree, with the exception of like Ys 1 and 2. Those are connected, but it allows you to jump in almost at any point and experience the series without having to have prior knowledge or anything like that. Whereas like Trails, there's homework involved, right? As I approached the beginning of the series, there was a few things I was worried about. I was like, man, are these games going to hold up? Is the bump combat system going to be annoying? Am I going to enjoy it? I hope I like these games. And thankfully, I actually really love playing through Ys 1 and 2. The games start off with Adol being shipwrecked on, I think it's Esteria, I might be pronouncing that correctly, or incorrectly, I don't know, and winds up being part of a prophecy to ascend Darm Tower, discover the books of Ys, rid the land of this curse, defeat demons. And it's just like, I can't help but wonder if maybe Falcom got a little inspiration from Legend of Zelda when they were making this game, because it felt very Legend of Zelda-ish to me, which is not a bad thing because that aided in drawing me into the games. I love Legend of Zelda. Ys had some similar vibes, but they also kind of pulled from Dragon Quest a little bit too, with talking to the NPCs who like ran the shops in the different towns like Zepik and those. And like the music, oh my gosh, dude. Look, the music in these games is sublime. But before I gush about the music, because the music was really stinking good, I want to zero in on the bump system, because I had heard about this system and been forewarned that it takes some getting used to. For some, it hasn't really held up that well, and it definitely has a little bit of a learning curve, but I kind of love how Falcom came up with this system that simulated action-based combat and felt really frenetic and kind of kept things moving at a really nice pace. But it's also just kind of funny to think about Adol bumping into enemies a la, like, it's almost like a kid. You know, like when you're a kid and you have your action figures and you just bash them together to simulate fighting. It's kind of like that. But like I said, it helped keep the game chugging at a really nice pace, and some of the combat encounters were actually pretty thrilling because of it. And I think it's safe to say that at the time, I would think people that played this game when it came out probably thought that was super innovative and really cool to see, but maybe I'm wrong. So I don't know. If you were around when these games first released and you played it, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Now, I think what impressed me the most about the first two games is the fact that its story is simple yet deep in some regard. Like when you first set out, you get little breadcrumbs here and there about Darm Tower, what's causing the demons to roam about, these goddesses that have been missing for a really long time. But then as you delve deeper into the game and you meet characters like Rhea and Fina, things really start to ramp up, especially as you collect more and more of the books of Ys and you get those translated and you see how they all work together. Because as you end Ys 1, and hang on, I had to talk about this final fight with Dark Fact, because holy crap, who at Falcom came up with this? Who came up with this fight? The final fight is so friggin' insane that I found out later that it could be made even worse depending on your computer settings. Like, it is literally like fighting a DVD logo boss on crack. It is insane. His attacks were fast, and I can't imagine them being any faster if my settings were something else to make it even worse. I gotta say that probably the final fight with Dark Fact is probably the worst part of the game, because it just feels so much like it's just based on luck. And if you decide to play this game, look, just good luck with that fight. But at the same time, have some fun with it because it is kind of funny to it is kind of funny to watch him lift the tiles and break the floors and just it's complete chaos. But yeah, anyway, at the end of Ys 1, it's cool because it leads directly into Ys 2 as Adol is transported. I totally am skipping over the music right now. Look, the music is really, really good. I love rock music. I love just anything with like a really good riff in it. And man, Ys's music is perfect. Like it's got some cool ethereal stuff, some nice little chill out, sort of like laid back tones that are a little ominous, but also really calming at the same time. The one I think of the most is from Zepik Village. It was just a really cool tune that I found myself just hanging out in Zepik for a while and just listening to the music and just enjoying my time in the game, being there. But anyway, back to how the game goes into number 2. It's cool because Ys 1 leads directly into Ys 2. Adol is transported to the floating island above Esteria, which is Ys. So here we find Ys. Ys 1 kind of dealt with this battle against evil and demons and such, but Ys 2 kind of really delves into it. I'd say Ys 2 gets really dark, and it kind of surprised me with that. Just with how dark it was, especially on the spiritual side of those things. You're introduced to this villain named Dallas. And Dallas is a really just evil dude, man. I mean, there's this section of Ys 2 where you're rushing to, I think it's like a tower or tomb of some sort to stop a villager from being sacrificed, but Dallas interferes and slows you down enough to where you get to the tower and then all of a sudden you realize, oh, she's been sacrificed. You see blood on the table and you're like, dude, this is heavy. You know, you're kind of left wondering, maybe alongside Adol, like, what did we just get ourselves into? But I think what I love about the series is just as you play Ys 1 and 2, it feels grand, I think is the right word. It just feels like when you play Legend of Zelda, you feel like there's this bigger picture that you're just a small piece of. And Ys 1 and 2, especially Ys 2, really kind of felt that way. And it was just really cool to play it through to the end, to take down these enemies and just free people and have this really heartfelt moment between Adol and, was it Fina? I think it was Fina. Like you could tell there's this like chemistry there, but you know, because they're stealing where the powers are going to this hibernation sort of thing, which is ironic because almost like history repeats itself, because when you go back and play Ys Origin, you see what happened prior to the events of Ys. Adol's not in the game because this takes place 700 years prior to the events of Ys 1. And you're this group going into Darm Tower to rescue the goddesses who have disappeared. And you get to play as Unica Tova, Hugo Fact, or I can say there's a third character you play as, right? Should I spoiler zone warning out who the third character is? Tread lightly, viewer. And what's cool about Ys Origin is that I got major Trails in the Sky the Third vibes from this game. Mainly because Trails in the Sky the Third takes place in one area, Phantasm, and you're kind of like doing this dungeon crawling thing, and it's a little more spiritual side of things. You're fighting demons and all that stuff. Ys Origin is very similar in that regard. It takes place in one tower, but you have multiple playthroughs, right? So you can play through the game as those three characters multiple times. Honestly, when a game requires you to play through it multiple times to get the true ending, I normally hate that because it's usually a slog. It's boring. It's not that interesting. And there's some notes of that here in Ys Origin. I think games like Resident Evil 2 kind of thread that line really, really well in changing certain things within like the police station and the lab that you end up in, but it's still very much the same, right? I think Ys Origin, despite it repeating a lot of the same notes between the characters, I think what makes it not so much a slog is the fact that each character that you play as not only plays different, but has their own unique individual story plays out as you get higher and higher up into the tower. Now, I think I found Unica's journey. I think I found Unica's journey or her story a little bit more on the like okay side of things. Like she's had this journey of becoming a strong warrior, honoring her father's legacy, finding and avenging her father's death and taking down their killer. I played through Ys Origin first as Unica, and it was actually really cool. I really liked it. I was like, oh, this is cool. Well done, Falcom. Again, let Falcom cook. And then I played through the game again as Hugo, and I'm like, dude, this one is really going places. You have Hugo being tempted to be really powerful. You have him being this stoic, kind of cold person while trying to struggle to let people in. He's being tempted by Dallas to give in to these evil demonic powers, but like his story was really, really cool. Hugo's stood out really, really well. And the true ending, the like canon playthrough, I guess, and again, spoiler warning here, but the true ending where you play through the game as the Claw, who you later find out is Hugo's brother Toll. It's Toll. That was just a really cool playthrough, really cool story. And like, not only did you have like him just having a really cool play style where it's more berserker style than Hugo's being a caster and Unica's being a brawler warrior type thing. Toll's had this really cool, like I love these sorts of redemptive storylines with characters. I think his was really well done and handled really, really well. And it was actually really cool. It made each playthrough actually worth playing through the game because you saw different aspects of the characters, you saw different struggles, you saw different places that the story went. Again, yeah, you're still going through Darm Tower multiple times, and it does get pretty boring, but I mean, the new story bits and the new playthrough things, or the new play styles, I think really make playing through the game multiple times worth it, in my opinion, to see how Ys Origin ends. Even though you kind of already know how it's going to end because you've played Ys 1 and 2 by now, at least I would hope that you would before you dive into Ys Origin, but I still just really enjoyed playing Ys Origin, with the way that it ends, with the goddesses sealing away the power of the Black Pearl, going to hibernation. 700 years later, history kind of starts to repeat itself. It's just really cool. And, after I finished Ys 2, I was like, man, are we going to see the goddesses come back later on in other games? I know that the Ys games, they're not like, they're lined up in a chronological order, but some of them tie together, some of them act as like a standalone sort of thing, and they might reference previous events, but you don't have to have knowledge of those. I'm curious though to see if those characters show up later on, just because they're so foundational to kind of like, I guess, the lore of the series, at least in the early parts, that I'm curious if they make a comeback, are they going to be reawakened at some point in a future game? And I don't know. I'm gonna have to play Ys to find out, right? I gotta say, I really, really enjoyed my time with these three games. I think the action combat is just really, really good. Even going from the bump system in the first two Ys games to Origin, I thought Origin's combat was just stellar. It was really, really good. It also just kind of made for a nice change of pace after playing through the Trails games, to be honest. So much so that I'm actually playing through Trails 8 Lacrimosa of Dana right now. I think I'm almost 30 hours in. I'm in chapter 5 at the moment. I'm not going to talk about it here, but I gotta say, I was really impressed with Ys, and I'm looking forward to playing more Ys, especially when Nordics comes out at the end of this month, or at least the month that this episode or video is coming out. But I'm curious, have you played the Ys games? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like this video, hit the like button down below and consider subscribing to the channel for more Trails, Ys, Falcom, JRPG related content. With that being said, thank you all for watching this review. Thank you for taking the time to watch my content. And until next time, happy trails.